Ready.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah, I know. I got fireworks too. Hey guys, yeah, there's fireworks everywhere. I don't know. So if you hear it, guys, apologies. Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. Yes, we are here discussing the freedoms of marriage. I know we were meant to be on Tuesday, but we had to reschedule for Thursday. So don't worry, it means you're closer to the weekend for you guys. So I hope you guys really do enjoy this conversation. We're going to go a little bit deeper. It's good to have some men on there because I think, hearing about marriage and talking about freedom within marriage is sometimes got a bad name sometimes. Sometimes men can look at marriage as Curtis would say, the ball and the chain, the weight and the anchor that ties you down. Yeah. But we want to kind of change that today. We want to bring a different perspective, a unique, but a real personal perspective on this topic for you guys today. So guys, before you even start, make sure you like, share, subscribe as always. And I'm going to allow my beautiful, honorable guests to introduce themselves as well. If I let our guests go first, and as always, Curtis will introduce himself as well.
Ooh. Okay, so that's me. You two always do this, so I guess I'm the guest. I'm the guest there. All right, yeah. So my name is Jermaine Wong. I'm the CEO and founder of film, poetry, and theatre company called Final Core Productions. Director, screenwriter. Currently working as a head of drama at a secondary school.
Beautiful.
That's not fair. Let me do this right. I just need to share this, right? Jermaine is an actor, okay? And Jermaine and his wife can act. Now that they are serious. I have to put this out there.
We don't act up, we act.
There's no misbehavior. This is real, yeah. So let me tell you, man. I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna hot you up. I went to this play called, what's it called? I'm Having Sex.
Yeah.
Jermaine, this guy messed me up. And what I'm saying is that when I went to this play, right? I went to two of them. It's the same one, and it woke me up because the quality of the acting. Because you got a team. You've got your team of actors.
Yeah.
But the depth in I didn't see it coming. The depth into this topic. I don't know. Is this thing online? Is this play online?
No, this currently is not online. It was something that we were touring for a couple of years, mostly in schools and around churches to raise discussion about, sexual relationship, the appropriateness of sexual relationships when it goes wrong, and really for churches to just talk about the topic. Really, sometimes the topic is taboo, especially in church circles. Young people sometimes don't want to talk openly and candidly about the topic. Senior folk most definitely don't want to talk openly and candid about the topic with their young folk. And I just think with my team, we just think that that's the most appropriate place to talk about it. But where else are they going to get the information that you want them to have, or the way in you want them to appreciate the topic? So we either teach them, or the world's going to teach them. Right. We already know that the world's got different views of how we view it. So.
Right. No, man, you are just putting it out there. Final Core Productions is real. It is it was a real awakening, because I was, things happen, but Final Core Productions hits you like a Mike Tyson in raising awareness, and not only just awareness, but the spiritual depth of the way that you attack certain topics. So I have to go with it for a second on that to say thank you for what you've done, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, my brother. I appreciate it. And when it's my turn, I'm going to be hotting up This Is Marriage and what that's done for mine. What that's done for mine. And there's part of why I wanted to talk about the topic anyway today. When we talk about the freedom within marriage, I'm going to even put it a little bit further and say the freedom of marriage. Not even the freedom within marriage, the freedom of marriage. My thing is marriage, as opposed to ball and chain, marriage is freedom. That's where I'm going today.
Let me introduce myself.
That's what I would have took. That's what I would have talked about today.
All right, let me introduce myself, and then Jermaine, you're going to try and kill us. All right, cool. We're ready for you. All right. It's Power here from This Is Marriage UK, YouTube or Instagram at This Is Marriage UK. We have these discussions same way, helping people navigate this journey of life, whether you're single, married, or divorced. And there's a lovely show that we have with Jermaine. Well, we've got you twice on our channel dealing with conflict in marriage. So it's good to have Jermaine here. He's a good friend of mine, very, very good friend of mine. And he lives in the best part of town with me, South London. You know, and we're just blessed to have that opportunity to share how I help people navigate this journey through these discussions and through counseling as well, which is stuff that we offer. Kojo, what about you, bro?
What about me, baby?
Introductions are going to be off the go for it. And last time,
guys, you know, I'm simple, guys. You already know, Little Black Book 91. I'm here to build a platform to discuss the tough topics, you know, that we don't get to have access to. I like to think of myself as the little kid that's sitting amongst the elders, tapping into the wisdom. And so I want to bring everybody else in that platform to kind of sit with me, tap into the knowledge of those who have gone before me. You know what I mean? So that's my role. You know what I mean? It's to let you guys do what you do best, conversate, release the knowledge, release the understanding and the wisdom. So for me, guys, that's all I am. Little Black Book 91 is just a platform to help others see that. You know what I mean? Nothing heavy. You know what I mean? So on that note, though, since we're talking about wisdom, since we're talking about understanding and knowledge, today's topic, Jermaine, as you quite put it yourself, is quite correctly put. You said freedom. What do you say? Marriage is freedom. You said marriage is freedom.
Freedom of marriage. Yeah,
the freedom of marriage.
Marriage is freedom. That's my take. And the reason, let me qualify a little bit.
Please, because I was like,
I'm coming from a place where I grew up in Brixton. I grew up in a broken home. So before I knew who my dad was, I already knew that he had 4 baby mothers. Right?
Wow.
I grew up as someone who had a single parent and then had a stepdad come along. Now, for the first couple of years, me and my stepdad didn't get along too well, but we get along like a house on fire now. Typical teenager from Brixton, like you say, bare gal, just running up and down. But I wasn't, even though I had a lot of girlfriends, I wasn't a player that type because I'm a romantic at heart. Deep down within my heart, I've always wanted to be with someone. You get what I'm saying? But whether nature or nurture or whatever, you know, you grow up in the area or whatever, and you just following what you see your elders doing. So I had girlfriends, but I always wanted that someone. But I had girlfriends. So I'm coming from a place where I've had girlfriends, but I've also had people that I've been in love with. I've had 3 broken engagements, 1 divorce, and I'm on my 2nd marriage.
Wow.
Heartbreaks. I've caused heartbreaks, I know. I've crossed the line with friendships, just wanted to be friends. I've gone to people's house, just wanted to have company, and it's crossed the line. So with all, and this is wisdom that we're talking about, because wisdom is about experience. So I've got a lot of the things that I've learned is because I've gone wrong, or I've known where I shouldn't have done that, or I've lost friends, or, you know, I've had a good friend and now we're not good friends anymore. You know, I've had heartbreak, or I've caused heartbreak, and I've seen the effects from both sides. So I'm not just talking about theory, I'm talking about the understanding with the wisdom that comes along with it. And coming from both sides, now being in my 2nd marriage for 6 years, I celebrated my 6th anniversary last week. So being in my 2nd marriage for 6 years, I know the difference between freedom or having access to all these different possibilities and the freedom of being in a solid relationship that is of God within the marriage institution. I know and have experienced the difference. And one of them is not freedom at all. One of them is a lie. One of them is posing as freedom, and one of them is actual freedom. So I'm just putting that out there. That's where I'm coming from.
But you know what? I mean, I can speak for myself, because I look back and I'm reflecting on what I saw as a man growing up. And I just, apart from the odd grandma and granddad, grandma and granddad growing up in church, there's people that's been married for 25, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And it's something admirable. But I don't remember seeing a good marriage.
True.
Right? I don't remember seeing something that I want to aspire. I want to aspire for the longevity. But I couldn't see a marriage that I would look at and go, that's what I want. I've never, Jermaine, it's only of late since we started doing the show over the last 5-6 years. And bro, that includes you. It's like you're looking at a functional, progressive relationship. So when I got married not only because I love my woman, I love her enough. Let's just, I got married based on a dream. And I hope that that dream would defeat the reality.
Hey.
So my reality is it's impossible. But I think a lot of people do this. We conjure up. We've got a vision of something we want to achieve, right? But we've never seen it. And I think that's what a lot of people do. Is like, I want this. Have you seen that before? So how do you not exist? We chase dreams. That's what we do. And that's what I did. I chased a dream. And then reality kicks in.
Yeah. I'm
in a marriage without any examples, but hoping that this will be something that you want to come home to. Now, I don't want to go too deep into that so much because I'm going to draw from you, right? But if I haven't had an example, then the only example I'm going to get for what marriage is from where?
Film and TV, right?
But it's more than that. It's like, what do men portray when it's their marriages? What are we seeing through media, through friends? What are we hearing? What are we hearing from men?
and what we're hearing, I love where you brought it, my brother. What we're hearing is ball and chain versus a pair of wings. We don't hear pair of wings enough from church. And maybe that's because it isn't like that, and they just haven't got the steam in them to let you know what the real is. And maybe it's because we're just not talking about it anyway. Maybe there are some beautiful marriages going on up here in a space where we should be hearing about it, but we're just so used to not talking about it because we've got this jaded view of the thing, like we need to keep everything to ourselves, or my business is my business, and talk when you're spoken to, or whatever the culture dictates. So maybe there is some good stuff. Maybe there is some good marriages going up in the space where we should be hearing it, but we're just so used to not talking about it.
Okay.
Or it might be that, there's a lot of it, 50% of it, like what the statistics suggest, 50% of it isn't so good. Maybe 50% of it is ball and chain. So where do we see what we need to see in order to aspire to what we need to aspire to? I remember hearing some deep wisdom from a pastor friend of mine. It wasn't about marriage, but it was about him growing up in a single parent family. And he said, when we was younger, he said to us, my dad weren't around, but I know what I should have had. So that's what I'm going to be. I know what I should have got. This is what he used to say. I should have seen my dad grab up my mum and just love up my mum. I should have seen him come home and just be like, come here, baby, and just plant a kiss on her forehead or plant a kiss on her lips in front of us. I should have seen her just grab her up and just smack her in her bum and say, you look sexy. I should have seen those things. So I'm going to be those things. I'm going to be what I should have seen. And something about that does resonate. If you want to know who said that, is a good mentor, Pastor Eddie Hippolyte. When we was teenagers, this is the wisdom that he dropped on us.
He gonna be on the show someday soon, man.
Yeah, he said, this is what I should have seen. Yeah. And that always stuck with me. And I was just like, yeah, that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be what I should be. I'm going to be what I'm looking for. So where do we get that though from? Where do we get what we should be from?
That's what I'm asking.
My thing is we get that from God. We get that from what God tells us how to be. And God shows us how to be the person we should be through the person of Christ. But I'm going to throw that out there. Through the person of Christ, God shows us who we should be, because it all boils back down to something we call other-centeredness. But let me throw that out there, because other-centeredness to me is the bedrock and the foundation of what true freedom is. So let me throw out there other-centeredness as the basis for true freedom. How we feel about that?
Where do we start? Go on, Curtis.
Define other-centeredness for us.
Other-centeredness. All right. So, as opposed to self-seeking, me, myself, and I.
Yep.
My previous relationships, even the relationship, God forbid, not even God forbid, but God, I confess, even the previous relationship just before I got with Danielle, my wife, had probably 80% self-centeredness attached to it, because it was about what can I receive out of this marriage, other than what can I give within this marriage?
Right there. Do you know what? Let's pause for a second.
Go on.
Right there is the root of all failure for all relationships. Let me tell you, I don't believe you can fix anything if you don't know the problem is. You can go counselor. Some counselors are useless. And not to speak against counselors, but some counselors, they don't help you get to the root of things. They help you navigate things. Well, sometimes you need to get to something. You need to just dig up a root, right? No, let me take that back on counselors. All counselors have their place. Yeah. Some counselors can't help some couples. Yeah. Because one thing that I believe, this is my personal belief, is that unless you understand the very root of something. So it's like we talk about money in scripture. Christ never spoke against money. It's like the love. That's the root. It's a mentality. It's just a mentality. But then that can be applied to a lot of things. The love of. Ultimately, we love ourselves first.
Hear the madness now, bro. Hear the madness. When we get into relationships,
always,
a lot of the time it's not I love you, you know. A lot of the time is I want to love me through you.
Come on.
You see what I'm saying? That's what it is. That's what we are taught through media, social media, TV, Hollywood. I'm a filmmaker. So I understand the power of stories, and this is the basis of all love romantic thing. They sell what they call the seamless dream, the meet cute. They sell it as if it's a true love, but it's not true love, because the very next episode, if someone does something wrong, they've broken up. It's not true love. What it is, though, is I want to love me through you. So I'm going to give you as much as affection as possible in order for you to give me what I need.
Ooh.
It's not about me giving you what you need, period.
Right. So what are you saying? And
the other person giving you what you need, period.
What are you saying?
It's about
wait.
Go on.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
Ask me what you're asking me, brother.
What are you saying? You're telling, bro, look, I agree with you, but let's go with it.
It's technique.
Yeah.
People, we are taught to love ourselves through the other person.
Yeah.
And we're pushing it off as if it's true romantic love. It's not.
So you're telling me, because look, when you read a magazine, the girlies magazines, them.
They're telling all the money magazines now.
All the magazines, right? They're telling you how to get the best sex, for example.
We're going to talk about that as well. We're going to talk about the best sex.
So what you're trying to say? What you're trying to say is that I'm not supposed to try and get the satisfaction I want from the giving I give.
No, this is the secret. You're not supposed to try and get the satisfaction you want. You're supposed to give the satisfaction you want.
Come on.
You see what I'm saying? It's not Christ in everything that he's trying to do is trying to remove every ounce of self-centeredness from the human, because that's nothing to do with him. Everything about God is other-centeredness. And we are what? This is the basis of the freedom. We are made in God's image. That's the original blueprint. So the original blueprint of humanity, man and woman, male and female, he created them. The original blueprint is you are other-centered. There's nothing self-centered in you. So any pleasure that existed was about giving it to the other person. So any pleasure that existed was about Adam trying to give that to Eve. Any pleasure that existed was about Eve trying to give that to Adam. And in that pleasure, they received. In the giving, you received. Another, let's touch briefly about real sex.
Before you go to sex, make the people wait for this one, right? Because it's about sex in it, so you have to make them wait.
Yeah. They're gonna stick around for that. They're gonna stick around for Act 3 for that one. All right, go for it.
But interestingly, on the model of the Christ and the Godhead, in my studies, the majority of the three, the Father, the Spirit, and the Son, of the three, the biggest player in terms of the one who is the most active is Christ. And I say that in that God mentions in scripture that he does everything through Christ. And then when you ask Christ, Christ says, if you see me, then you see the Father.
You see him.
And then the Father says, well, if I want to be represented, I want you to see me through my Son. And then the Son says, well, boy, the only way to see me is to go to the Holy Spirit. And then the Holy Spirit's like, well, boy, if you want to see either of the other two, you're going to have to, you understand? Yeah. It's a big circle. They're all deflecting. Yeah,
of course. That's it. That's the nature of other-centeredness. When Christ was here, he was like, I don't speak anything of myself. Everything you hear me speak, I speak of the Father. And then when the Holy Spirit came, he says, I'm not going to tell you anything what Jesus ain't told me to tell you. So you see this, they call it the circle of beneficent love. That's how they coexist.
Break that one down.
Yeah, but circle of beneficent love. The Father's all about the Son. The Son's all about the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit's all about the Father. And this is how they exist. So when God says, I'm creating man, when he said, let us create man in our image, this is what he's talking about. You see the way how we exist? Come on. That's how they are going to exist. In this beneficent, this coexistent beneficent of love. Nothing's going to be of themselves. They're going to be fulfilled by giving. This is why he harps on about giving. Give and it shall come back to you. The primary thing is give. The giving, the true secret of life is about giving. It's about other-centeredness. Now, the counterfeit, the enemy's counterfeit, he's come in and he said, don't trust the guy that said, give. He's not to be trusted. You got to look out for yourself. In order to look out for yourself, you need to eat this fruit because you'll be like God. You'll be wise like God. So you don't need to trust him. And then once we adapted that mentality, once humanity, Adam and Eve adapted that mentality, we became self-centered as a form of kind of like protection, because now they don't trust God because God said you can't eat of the tree or whatever, and this is what the serpent is telling them. So now he can't be trusted. So now I've got to do stuff to protect myself and become self-centered. You get what I'm saying? And that is the nature that we took on, self-centeredness. But now Christ comes in and says, all right, you don't need, I've made a way where you don't need to be self-centered no more. And he now has to teach us how to be other-centered again. One of the ways he teaches us how to be other-centered again is through that institution called marriage. This is one of his primary ways he teaches us how to be other-centered. Because he's saying, all right, let's go back to the beginning. With the original couple that was made in the image of God. That's how you guys were. This is how you were. So let's go back there and let's look at what that means. And these guys, Adam and Eve, were the epitome of freedom. This is why I say the freedom of marriage, because these two first, they weren't under no ball and chain. They were free as birds. They could do whatever they want. They were blessed. Their marriage, their sexuality, their sex life was as blessed as a Sabbath day. You get
So what are you saying now? So what are you saying now? Like, how am I supposed to? Let's go with it. This is what they're waiting for. How am I supposed to be satisfied sexually?
Oh, right.
No. I got needs. Yeah.
I really have. Just saying.
What?
All right.
What?
So you got needs. Right. Let's look at the.
What am I supposed to do with these needs? I want it a certain way.
Trust me.
I love it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Jermaine, let me ask the question first, man. Let me ask the question first now.
Ask the question. Right. Go for it. You want it this way, you want it that way. But why do you want it this way and that way? Who told you wanted it that way? Okay. Someone told you wanted it. Someone told you, just like they told us that, to be happy, you need to have £1 million. Or to be happy, you need to have the car and the house. And someone told you that that's what happiness was. And the whole world has bought into that. And realize that when people win the lottery, you still got people committing suicide because they can't handle it. So they soon realize, as soon as they get it, you ask any of them celebrities, as soon as they get it, they realize that, bro, this wasn't it. What they told me isn't it. So who told us that in order to be fulfilled, our sexual needs to be fulfilled, we need to have it this way or that way?
So how am I supposed to enjoy it, bro?
Okay. What does it mean to enjoy it, though? Because it's the way that they told us to enjoy it. Is that really the way?
I don't know. You do it right.
Now I'm not saying there's no pleasure.
I'm playing, bro.
If we have £1 million, I would love £1 million right now.
Come on,
I would find nothing to do with that £1 million, and I would love to have a nice fancy car and big house and all of that. I will find some stuff to do with it, but I will soon realize that stuff is temporary. And just like the things they tell us what is supposed to satisfy our needs sexually, you soon realize that all of that is temporary, because that's why they want to do it with. That's why as soon as Beyonce walks in the room, they want to do it with her. And then when Little Kim walks into the room, forget about Beyonce, they want to do it with Little Kim. And then soon as something new comes along, you want to do it with someone new, even though you're doing the same exact things. Why is that? Because it wasn't what they told you, what was satisfying your needs was a lie. When we was watching porn and everything, and they're telling us this is how you're supposed to get satisfied, it was a lie. That's not the thing that satisfies the sexual needs, because that's all to do with self. Nothing to do with self-seeking is going to satisfy the needs. That is the lie. The truth is, to satisfy the needs is about giving.
I hear this.
Giving sexual pleasure, not trying to take or receive sexual pleasure. That's how it's done. Because that's the original plan. That's how it's done. So how does that? So if we respond to this, and then we'll talk about how we get there, because I know that's what people want to know. How do you get there? Because I'm talking from both sides, I'm talking about always wanting to get it, being in a position where I was getting it, but then as soon as someone more prettier comes in, or who I perceive to be more prettier comes in, I want it from them. And sometimes even when they're not even more prettier, bro.
Sometimes you're just burning.
Even when they're not even more prettier, just the fact that it's someone new.
Trust me.
And you've not gone there, and you just want to conquer something you hate, just want to conquer. Even though you're at home and you've got the boom thing at home, and someone is not as boom, but it's just because it's just fresh and new, and you want to conquer. Why?
But it tells you the power of the value system. My value system could be just, this is what it often is. This is why people cheat.
The desire. Because
the value system is about self. You will have listen, so many men have good women and good looking women. I'm speaking from, this is about men now, right? This is to forget the women. Because if you have to be on the show to talk about women. No, but I'm saying men have cheated because they're looking for pleasure, right? Meeting needs, serving self. Now, as for me, in mind, don't get me wrong, been there, still there in some ways. But Jermaine, my eyes are opened, right? I learned a few years back, it is not about me. So my value system has shifted to cater for the need of my relationship. To cater for the need of my relationship. And the thing that one of the things that turned it around is it's not about me.
And I agree, you know. And at the same time, I'm not even negating the fact that, you know, we're in a world that is not ideal. We're in a world where relationships do go bad for legitimate reasons.
Yeah.
We're in a world where one partner in a relationship might be on his job and giving, and the other person is not. And thus there's an imbalance, which then legitimately this guy just, you know, his head's being turned because he's legitimately not being fulfilled, even though he's giving.
Of course.
You get what I'm saying? So we do live in a world where that does happen. You get me, on both sides. And we do live in a world where, you know, even when everything's going right, a selfish nature dictates that sometimes we slip, we fall, and we do get self-centered again. But when we recognize that this stuff, it stems from a self-centered perspective, and when we're dealing with Christ and when we're dealing properly with God, he's removing self-centeredness from us. Then we begin to see, all right, then how we can navigate this thing better, how we can navigate where we are better, how we can navigate this nature better and cling to God and cling to your woman and just root yourself in, all right, I'm going to do this other-centered thing. You've given yourself a much higher probability of a successful relationship once you just decide to understand that this is what the deal is. It's about not being self-centered and being other-centered. It's about not falling to the lie about what the world tells you how to get good relationships, and actually just doing what God says how to get good relationship. Because the way how God says it is backward, it's foolishness. Because it's deeply spiritual, the way how God is telling us how to do it. And these things are spiritually discerned. The way how God's telling us to do it is deeply spiritual. He's telling us 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. He's saying, give away your 1 and you will get the 2.
Yeah.
I'll rock with that. That's wrong. That's wrong.
So this is where I'm coming from. The other-centeredness is the bedrock of the freedom of marriage and good sex, the best sex actually. But we ain't gone there yet. But it's the bedrock for the best sex, and there's a reason why. As opposed to man just having access to a lot of sex, because there's a difference, and the world confuses people to make them think if you got access to a lot of sex, that equals the best sex, or somewhere along the line you're gonna find the best sex a lot. But you're actually diminishing your chances to have best sex when you have access to a lot of sex like that. You actually diminish your chance for the best sex.
So can this not be can we not say then, I need to show you, wifey, how to please me?
Say that again?
I want to show my wife how to please me.
I want to show my wife how to please me. In the context, or you're asking me, what if someone asks you that?
Yeah. What is that good advice? Is that a good way to think?
I guess in the context of this discussion, how you guys are talking amongst your own relationship, if that's how you're working it, all right, this is what I want you to do for me, and this is what I want you to do for me, then that's how you're working it. But I would always suggest that the conversation would go 100 times better if it was, how do you want me to please you?
You went back there. Straight back to the beginning, bro. Back to the beginning.
It will always go back to, but in effect, you're doing the same thing, but you're just changing the emphasis from yourself to the other person. So instead of saying, let me show you how to please me, bruh, how can I please you? And then your spouse is like, well, how can I please you? And then the objective is the same objective is accomplished, but you've just removed self from the paradigm.
That's an interesting concept.
Got a lot of questions. Kojo, you go first if you have any, man.
Someone had a question here. Someone had a question. I don't know who's that. I think that's for you, Curtis. That's for you, Curtis. That question.
What ways have self-centeredness manifests itself in your relationships?
Well, do you know what? For me, I'm quite internal. I have the really good ability to communicate, I think, but I'm quite internal. A lot of the time, I will suffer quietly. So everyone's going to handle it differently. And I remember the first couple of years, I just went quiet. And I started to play. A lot of voices were just telling me, man, this ain't the plan. This is not how it's supposed to be working. Neither of us knew about this. Listen to me, man. Neither Winnie and I did not know about other-centeredness. Like this is another kind of doctrine. We weren't nobody was ready for it, bro. There was no counseling on this. You know what I'm saying? What happened with me? I just internalized a lot of frustration, and that frustration, when it's internalized, will have an impact on your mindset, your sexuality, yourself, your opinion of yourself, your opinion of the other person, without even saying a word. So that's how it reflects. I'm speaking about myself. That's how it impacted me. And it took about 12 years, about 10 or 11 years for me to switch it. So when you're talking to me and I'm relating to you, I had to switch it because it weren't working the way I was like, this woman ain't here for me like this, like that. She's not doing for me. So I just switched it. I don't get me wrong. It's like, I'm like, God just dropped it on me. It's not about you. So then I just was like, okay. I remember one day I was just like, okay, let me try it different. I am going to have no expectations.
All right.
Jermaine, I switched off my expectations. This is not a reflection of my wife. This is a reflection of me. Because we're both, when it comes from a situation like yourself, in the sense that it's a broken home. No example. So what did I expect? Do you know what I mean? So it's not like I'm better than her in any shape. It came to me to say, have no expectations. Let's see how we can run it. And that was a change. That was a major change. Problem's still there, but I'm switching the game, and God is working through me over time. But to answer the question again, I internalized self-centeredness. Yeah, I internalized, and it created problems within my mindset, my body. Not so obviously my body, but the way the body functions in terms of responses to your partner. Because remember, I'm having a dialogue in my head that's not real. You're having arguments.
Whoa. Yeah, man.
You're having arguments. And then so your body's conditioned to, well, when it doesn't get what it wants, it kind of does this or does that. You know what I mean?
Oh, my days. Like them times when you go to bed, like my thing is, in regards to just respond to what you're saying there, like if I go to bed and I'm feeling like something's supposed to be going on tonight, and I get even the slightest little vibe, and that's just with my own insecurities, but if I get the slightest little vibe that you're not on it,
did it? Yeah,
that's me though, Jermaine.
I hear you.
Lock off.
Yeah.
And I take the mindset, you're lost. Your loss, even though it's my loss, and I'm the one that's feeling it, but my pride is just like, no. The slightest thing, and that's to do with my own insecurities, is like if I reach out and the rejection and all of that.
Trust
so I'm just like,
and it's not even necessarily a thing, but that's how you received it.
Yeah. So and enough time, a lot of the time, these are the deep discussions. These are the discussions me and my wife are having, because she was like, I thought something was gonna go on, and I'm like, well, I got this vibe, and she was like, we're here again. We're talking about this again. And it's like, and I'm just like, well, I got a vibe, and you know how I stay. If I get a vibe, and I even get an inkling that you're not on it, I'm shutting it down. I'm just like, well, no. You get what I'm saying? Because it's a privilege. What you dealing with? You get what I'm saying? But that's one of the ways. That's one of the ways.
You know how much women can't get married. You're gonna turn me down.
You know, you go back to the old mindset. Like, you know how much access I've denied. You know how much lip gloss. You know how much lip gloss I've let go. And then you get what I'm saying, for you to not to respond positively to my very touch, and you know all of these things. So, but we've had to have conversations about that, and you know, just be like, nah, that's something that's going on in your head. What you thought was going on is not what's going on. I'm here waiting. You get what I'm saying? And sometimes she's waiting because of her thing. She don't want to get rejected, so she's waiting. She's waiting for someone to start the thing, even though she's burning, wants something to go on, but she don't want to get rejected. I don't want to move. I don't want to get rejected, and then we both end up
petrol cycle.
Let me ask you, how people can be married and this is going on?
Yeah, it happens. Some deep insecurity. Yeah, it's some
insecurity, isn't it? Yeah.
It's deep insecurity still that spills over, and sometimes it's still there because we think once you say the I do's and you have your wedding, some people think that it just eradicates all of those stuff.
It doesn't go, yeah.
It thinks that everything that went before the marriage now just eradicates it, not realizing now you're bringing that in, and now you guys have got to work through that. But your marriage is there to help you work through those things now, because now you're going to learn how to let go of some self-centered attitudes by being other-centered. You get what I'm saying? Marriage tests everything that we are. I got that from a preacher, man. You know, when I was looking to get married and I was watching their marriage sermons and everything like that. And this is one that stood out to me. He goes, marriage tests everything you are, because it's geared to remove selfishness from you.
And if it doesn't get removed, what?
And then you experience ball and chain.
I'm hearing this.
That's when that paradigm comes in, because at the root of that paradigm is selfishness.
Because you know what, the insecurities will govern. And this is it. Looking at the movies and the shows and the you know and the comedy that we've had over the years around marriage, he feels trapped in a relationship that's unfulfilling. Really, man is governed by insecurity. Don't want to ask, or if he's asked, because he ain't done X, Y, and Z,
or he's expecting based on a false perception of what he thinks things are. Because and a lot of the time people are expecting things not based on a conversation that they've had. So you've come in and you've done I've come in and I've done certain things around the house which I'm thinking should have been done. I'm thinking should have been done before I got into the house, for example, right? So I've come in from work, done certain things around the house what I'm thinking should have been done. So I'm expecting a thank you. I'm not expecting to say, right, you should say thank you. I'm just expecting a thank you because I've done certain things around the house. So when I don't get that, I feel away. But the person, now my wife now, and this is just a hypothetical situation, my wife now might be thinking, why do I need to thank you for tidying up the yard?
It's your yard.
It's your yard.
She better thank me.
Yeah,
it takes work.
In her head, she's thinking about time. You did something around the yard. Because the last thing on her mind is, let me give him some thanks. Now, both perspectives are legitimate, but they're not going to be substantiated until you talk.
This is going to say this communication.
When a husband comes home and says, "Right, I'm working all day, and I thought because you've been home all day that these things were going to be done, but I came home and did it," and he did it because he was actually trying to show some love. That was the intention, and he just wants some appreciation. Now, if wifey knew that he's trying to show love, then if she loves him, there's no way she's not going to be like, "Oh, let me show you some love and give you some thanks." And if hubby understood that wifey was feeling that way, that she feels that I'm not doing enough around the house, and that she could do more, and that the fact that he's done, do you get what I'm saying? So if a communication thing that was going to happen now, that would substantiate, that would let them know, all right, then there is love here, and the expectation that we had is put in its proper place. Do you get what I'm saying? But sometimes we come in and we've got all these expectations that our parents have put on us, what church has put on us sometimes, what TV puts on us, what our friends put on us. When you get that thing, you're supposed to be getting it 7 times a day, or you're supposed to be washing up the dishes, or he's supposed to be doing this, or he's supposed to be the man provided. All these things that have come in and sometimes have not been talked about. It's just assumed. And that leads to that assumption sometimes leads to ball and chain. Those things are lies. They're untruths.
Someone here has said it's funny because our insecurities and fears are the real ball and chain.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Married or not married, any relationship you're in, you're gonna find out the insecurities are real. You got to face your own demons, you know. And as you're talking, I'm just thinking, because obviously myself and Kurt has been doing this for a few weeks now, and the more time we have these kind of conversations, the more that I'm pricked in the sense of that when I'm now going back to my missus, I'm having to apply what's being said here. You know what I mean? As the Bible says, you know, you got to be a hearer, but you got to be a doer of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's good you heard it, but are you going to apply it? And I think many men grow up, but we are not in circles of communication. So we don't learn how to communicate, right? So we move by the action, right? And we just, okay, gotta get it done. I won't communicate. If I'm angry, you're gonna see my face, and that should be a communication to you that I'm angry, rather than going to, actually, I gotta come to a mister, listen, do you know what you just did there? I'm frustrated by what you did there. We're not used to that, right? Because that's not often what we've seen. That's not what we've been told to do. And so oftentimes we struggle in that area. But actually the freedom of marriage that you're talking about comes in that communication, because it's in that area where you start to realize actually what is actually eating you. Because when we're talking about anger and frustrations, they are the surface of what you're feeling, but there is an underlying emotion, or should say feeling, that you have underneath that is running on, that's giving it power now. So actually I'm angry, but why am I angry? Nice. And when we don't communicate, it's because sometimes we don't want to communicate because I don't want to have to delve deep.
All right, you see what you just said there, my brother. That's why you're the brother who you are. You see what you just said. That is what seeps into the freedom of marriage now. You get what I'm saying? Because when I've done counseling before, and I'm giving people all these communication tools, and I'm saying, yeah. So when this happens, and this is something you can put in place, and here's a communication tool. The thing that I leave them with, I goes, all right, I've given you all these tools. The real issue is going to be now when you've got all these tools and you don't want to do it.
This is it.
This is the real issue. Because you can have all of this stuff. You can have all the tools you can have the tools to build a house. The thing is when you're too lazy to build a house. The thing is when you don't want to talk to your spouse. What then? What then do you do when you've got everything, all the tools that you need, and you just don't want to do it? Because that's where the real issue comes in. And what you were saying earlier, it's the underlying thing. Sometimes I want to communicate something just through my face. I want my face to tell you that something's wrong with me. Why? Because we don't want to get vulnerable enough to let it out. But I'm saying that vulnerability is where the freedom is. That's where it is. That thing that we hold in, I just want to be moody, and I want you to get all the communication from my moodiness, and I kind of want you to soothe my moodiness, and I want you to get it. I want you to get what I'm giving to you through that. I'm only giving you that enough because if I was to get vulnerable and tell you what I'm really feeling, it's like putting a knife in your hand. Now you can do the knife and dissect, or you can use the knife to stab and kill.
Mm.
Do you get what I'm saying? So once I get vulnerable, it can be a weapon in that person's hand. And now once you give that person your vulnerability, you are open
for death
to be hit. Now, especially as men who grow up masculine or macho or whatever, especially as men, giving that power over to your spouse is a deep thing. It's deep, especially if you've been burnt before, especially those who've had heartbreak before. Trust me, I've had heartbreaks. It's hard. It's hard to decide to be vulnerable to a new person, knowing that, I know where this can go. If I let you know how much I'm feeling you, I know where this can go.
Bro, you know what? I thank God, right? If I let down my guard, Monica lets it down at the same time.
That's where you got a.
You said it before,
you got a queen. You got a princess.
Christine.
Bro, you know what I'm saying?
Chris.
I say that. I mean, partially it's a blessing on a plate in that she's emotive. And so she feels a lot. She feels things. And so if I ever come to the place where, and I'm actually the complete opposite. I'm the logic. I'm a computer. I'm like 1 0 1 0. If it doesn't make sense, why consider it? That's me. I'm that guy that would just, someone died. I'm like, okay. Do you know what I mean? As I think as I'm getting older, that's starting to change, and I think that's just natural. But we're the complete opposites. And what, when I let it down, when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tell you how I feel, she would just absorb it. She will do the same thing. So basically, what we're doing is we're undressing. So it's like this. This is a classic.
I
like that you went there. Go for it.
Who's gonna take off their clothes first?
That's the point.
With the lights on.
Because when you take it off,
with the lights on, who's gonna do it? Now, listen. Other-centeredness, then, Jermaine. What you're trying to tell me is that I just need to take off my clothes first time, every time.
But hear this now.
Call that faith.
Adam and Eve were both naked and were unashamed.
They're killing us today.
It's the exact same. This is when I say we go right back to the beginning. It's the same thing. That is what they're talking about. These guys were naked and they were not ashamed. They were just totally free and vulnerable with each other. They let it all out. And you see, if you've got a wife that you can, when you decide, I'm gonna strip, and she's not like, right, is that how big it is? I thought it was bigger than that. Or
don't say that.
You got a little bit of a pudge.
Do not say that to a man.
Yeah. Or is that? I thought you had more hair than. Do you get what I'm saying? Once you undress and they respond to you like that, then for me, I'm never getting undressed again.
Yeah.
You try no, it's never happening again. But if you've got a wifey now, that's like when you undress, they're like, all right, I'm going to respect the fact that it's taking you a lot to do that. Here I am. That's freedom. That is also where the best sex lies.
What are you talking about?
That's where it is.
So come on, we made them wait.
That vulnerability, you see that vulnerability, you see that undressing of vulnerability, that is stuff of divinity. That is stuff of that is godliness. That level of vulnerability is godly. And once you get intimate with that level of level of vulnerability, that is stuff of spirituality. Carnal people experience the access to the quantity of sex is a counterfeit.
Sorry, go back. Say that again. Say that bit again. Say that again.
The access to the quantity of sex is a counterfeit to the vulnerability of sex. The vulnerability that thing, that intimacy that you experience when you're both vulnerable with one another, you're both naked, that is the best sex. And you will know it. People who have experienced, they know it. Sometimes when you've just been out there doing your thing, everything's just local. It's just about that moment. As soon as that moment's come, sometimes you look at the person and you're just like, what have I done?
Oh, trust me.
And you want to get as far away from them as human. 30 seconds just a minute ago, everything was about this moment.
Yeah.
The world could be ending, but everything was about this moment. 30 seconds later, you don't want to be nowhere near this person. But the vulnerability, when you're in that moment, you know.
You know what's funny? You say that when it sent me a clip on Instagram, it was called couples yoga, but I don't think it is. But it's just about, it was like about 8 or 9 couples in a room. The woman was sitting on the man, and it was quiet, and they were dressed, and it was just a level of intimacy that I've never seen with my eyes. And they were sitting on it. Well, the woman was sitting on the man, and they were just hugging and kissing. But the intensity was shocking for me. Now, understand, right? What got me was, I always read comments. I love reading comments in Instagram and YouTube. And what got me was the amount of men that said, wow, this is sexy. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want.
That's one of the comments. Men. Yeah.
The men were like, this is what I want in a woman. This is what I want to have in my marriage as a man. And I was like, okay, so men want that. What we're talking about. What we're talking about, men want this.
You know why? You know why that's sexy for us men? Because there's something sexy about their partner feeling completely safe in our arms.
This is biological.
Where they are just totally open, and they're like, I'm cool to be totally open with you, and I'm safe to just give my all to you. When we see that, we know innately that's what I want.
I agree.
That's what we're designed for. When a lady sees that, she sees that that's what I want. That's the type of man that I'm looking for, because that's what we're designed for. We are designed to be people who see each other naked and are not ashamed.
Stretch marks, fat, hair, no hair.
Everything.
That's why a lot of the time when I'm telling my wife, I don't care about all of that stuff,
I don't care about all that.
Just carry it with confidence.
I said the same thing.
If I was there, I was spuddy, man. I said, just carry that with confidence. And that is the most sexiest thing to me.
It's the way you carry it.
Yeah.
Just be open with me.
Yeah. Because you're mine, So your stretch marks are my stretch marks. You're mine. But just know that you're mine.
Bro.
Just know that you're mine, innit? Just be vulnerable and know that you're mine.
This is what we want. This is what we want.
And I think it's the same thing when ladies are like, I love my man's pot belly. Like I find it like, rah, how can well, I'll go on with that. But they just, because that's mine. And that's my pot belly. And his vulnerability with me, that makes it mine. And that makes it super sexy.
This is what the glue, this is the bonding stuff,
Yeah. Absolutely.
This is the glue, this is the everything. This is like, if you feel, look, I'm overweight. I'm just putting that one out there because it's the classic, right? I'm overweight. And you know what? He loves it. Not only that, but I'm overweight and I'm confident. This is the glue.
Yeah.
Or I'm underweight, or because there's something about, and this is an advice to couples who are in marriage and those who are contemplating and the singletons. You just got to be you, because when it comes to being intimate, that's the most powerful thing you could be right there, is to be unapologetic.
You.
I was gonna say as well, just for because we're talking about married couples, we're talking about the freedom that exists because they're creating the image of God. This in no way excludes any single people. Single people can experience the same freedom, because freedom is about living in community. Obviously, God formed the first community through Adam and Eve. Well, even if you're single, you can experience this freedom if you decide to just live in community. The image of God are people, are humanity living in community. That's what it means to reflect the image of God. Because God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are a community. That's how they exist in the circle of beneficent love. So when we exist in the circle of beneficent love, we reflect the image of God. This is the freedom. It's definitely illustrated through the marriage institution. It's freedom. Everything else, the Bible lets us know, let God be true and let everyone else be a liar. Yeah, God is true. What he's established is the truth. The first two, male and female, the first two who were on here, they were totally free. They were totally happy. They were totally naked and not ashamed. That's freedom.
Yeah, and just to even add, because you know what, you know me, last few weeks I've been talking about emotional safe spaces all over the gaff. So you know, since we're talking about vulnerability and talking about being naked emotionally as well as physically, I want to even just share this. So a funny situation happened. I decided to come clean with the missus about how I was feeling about a certain something. And she put me on blast, bro. She put me on blast, bro. And I was hit, bro. I was just there like, I couldn't breathe, right? But after a few minutes, I couldn't breathe. Honestly, I couldn't. But after we were talking about it back and forth, I started to realize, hold on a minute. She's hitting me because she's also fearful. Yeah. She's reacting with her expectation, and the fear is hitting her. So she's responding how she knows how best. And so when we're talking about being naked in front of somebody, you may have to step out first and get hit. You might have to take that hit in order for there to be progress going forward. And it's the fear, and this is what we're talking about. We've been talking about God all day. This is where fear versus faith comes into play. Yeah. It's the moment to say, okay, I'm going to step out and I may get hit, but I've got to do this in order to progress the relationship forward. Because once you start to realize that the other person also has fears, you can actually start to go, okay, cool, I got bullied, I hurt me a little bit, but actually, wait, where's your fear coming from? Because now I need to be able to understand where you're coming from as well. So like you're saying, this is all about that response of understanding. It's a giving. At that moment, I want to be vulnerable and you hit me, but actually, what is it that's going on with you as well?
Yeah. Oh, my brother, this is why you. This is why you know why? Because the world teaches us, or society teaches us, that you get into a marriage, they got this concept, well, you don't ever need to say sorry if it's true love. Or you're never gonna get hit if it's true love. And the reality is, the maturity is, we live in a world where you're gonna get hit.
Yeah.
And this is the reality. You're going to be in a relationship where sometimes your Eve is going to be a cause of you being upset.
Of course.
But the mature thing is to be, right, where's that coming from? If I know that this ultimately she loves me, the foundation of this thing, I love you, you love me. So when we do get hit, we need to talk. We need to understand where that's coming from. Do you get what I'm saying? And then once you start talking, you'll realize, right, is it real love or not? But if it is, if you're married, there's love there. And we just have to be mature enough to, right, even when there's love there, because of the environment that we live in, because of sin that's in the environment, sometimes we're going to get put on blast.
Yeah.
And sometimes we are going to react out of fear and do things out of fear. Do things because we're trying to protect, do things because of insecurities. All of this stuff are in play. But the mature thing is to be like, all right, let's get back to other-centeredness with this then.
Come on.
Let's get back down to that foundation. And we have to, once you're getting into marriage, you have to settle into your mind that is going to be your default position. That once everything is said and done, our default position is to get back to other-centeredness. When all is said and done. Because that's the mature thing to do.
I wanted to go back to that, a previous comment. You have to put it up, but it was talking about putting God. When you, women, man, you know, when you're looking at the prospective partner for life, and you're like, man of God. The man of God is not a man of God just because he attends church or he can sing a certain way, speak in tongues, or if that man knows how to preach or even teach. Any of those things don't make a man of God a man of God. It's reflected in the development of his character. And the man of God is always about, bro, let's be straight. The man of God is always about others. I'm not talking about people who don't put themselves first. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who are about the love system of putting the other person first before themselves, which is different from people who give too much of themselves. That's a different thing, right?
A different thing.
Yeah.
Different thing. So the man of God is the man of God. You see it in his character. It's not the stage. It's what happens when you're alone or when he's by himself. That's the man of God. Let's not. But it was also, bro. Do you want to read that question out? I'm having a little. I need some glasses.
Yeah. Yeah, don't worry, bro. I'll read it. The one that you said that you wanted to read out. Yeah.
No, this one here on the screen.
Oh yeah. This says she put yes. They put yes, sis. If you don't cultivate these qualities prior to, you can't miraculously expect to know how in the most important relationship you'll ever have next to God. Watch how people move. I think it was a statement.
Yeah. I thought it was something. Yeah. Okay.
Well, guys, we're on the thing is, you can't. Final. We're in the last few minutes. I know we can do a part 2, but we're in the last few minutes. Okay. You know what I mean? I want to stick to time. So you got to bring your conclusions now. You understand?
All right. Conclusions. All right, go for it.
Listen, I was going to say,
go for it, bro.
Love, true love, the love model that you're talking about, Jermaine. It means taking bullets, but it's okay. I think the bullets are actually a side issue. They're a distraction. Love makes you get up and go again. Not foolishly. When two people are trying to make their relationship function and one is sometimes ahead of the other in the game of understanding who God is, love makes you up here more patient, bulletproof. It gives you the strength to get up and keep taking you both up this way. So I don't think you can love without pain. And I'm not saying that you must take abuse. You understand? You know, people who are listening to me can hear me. You understand?
Yeah, I hear you.
Love makes you patient and say, look, we're not gonna get there straight away. We're still developing, we're still growing. Love makes you say, I'm gonna be patient and long suffering. I'm gonna work this out because Jermaine is not the finished product yet.
There's so much. Oh man, I had something in my mind, and just as you just said that last bit, you brought a new dynamic in. All right, so 2 things then. All right, just based on that last thing that you said first, you're not the finished product. This is Hebrews 11. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That's how we're supposed to live our lives. The evidence of things not seen. Your spouse is the evidence of things not seen. She or he is not the finished product, but you're on a journey and you view them as evidence of things not seen. That is faith. Have faith in your spouse.
Things which are not as though they were.
Yeah. Treat them like the finished room. Like you go into your empty house and it needs painting, you continue painting because you vision in your mind what it's going to look like as the finished product. You don't look at the mess and be like, oh, I'm done with this. You vision in your mind what it's going to look like when it's done, and then you work to get it to that finished product. That is your spouse.
Come on.
So that is just based on the last thing that you just said, right? But the other thing, my concluding point, you got many types of Christians, but 2 prominent types of Christians. A type of Christian that wants to see Jesus as the conquering lion of Judah. Rah! All powerful. And they're just like, yeah. Because that's who he is. But look how God manifested his power. God manifests his greatest power as a lamb slain. This is how God manifests his power. This is how he becomes all powerful, not as the conquering Lion of Judah. He is the conquering Lion of Judah, but he manifests his power as a bloody lamb slain. So, what does it mean to be powerful? To be humble. It's to take that position of, I'm going to put everybody else before me. It's to take that position of forgive them when they're spitting in my face, when they're doing all manner of stuff to me. Esteem them beyond me, even when they don't deserve it. This is what it means to be a godly person, because you're being like Christ. And this is what it means to have freedom in your marriage. It's to have that attitude, because that's the truth. The other thing that they tell us is counterfeit, is a deception. Let me get what I need. That's not what it is. To really be satisfied in your marriage is to take the attitude of Christ and be that lamb slain and esteem others above yourself. And it's all about giving of yourself, emptying yourself for your spouse, and your spouse emptying yourself for your partner.
Yeah.
And that's where the true happiness lies.
Yeah.
Amen. Guys, I don't think I need to add to that. Okay, so I'm gonna let it rest there. I think it's been a very productive conversation, and I think we've really changed a perception, of when we talk about marriage and talk about freedom. We might even need a part 2. I know we didn't finish. You know what I'm saying? We didn't really get to the.
Need one.
You know what I mean? We touched somewhere. You know what I mean? So, I believe that you guys have done some good work here. Just kind of having and again, for me, always it's about the conversation. It's about the fact that you're filling people with a knowledge that will dislodge people's mindset, because a lot of it is filled with stuff that we've seen and heard, and a lot of times they're not correct. But because that's all we know, that information is what we operate on. So today's conversation has been a good food to dislodge what doesn't need to be there, and actually impute it with real information, hardcore information. Say, hey, if you're single, if you're married, listen, take this knowledge in and apply it. Listen, don't just hold it, apply it. Especially the man them in this conversation, please apply. The people that are in the chat, apply it. I beg,
apply it. That was it. Yeah,
right.
Man. Definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
Again, guys, if you could also plug yourselves, let them know where they can find you. I think someone even asked for some relationship counseling, so I don't know if you guys are about that life, please lend your services out here. You know what I'm saying?
I just want to say Jermaine we had Jermaine on our show. Might be a couple years, it's about 3 years ago now, I think. Jermaine and his wife. His wife, lovely wife, man. Jermaine, actually, listen, I'm plugging you hard. Like, listen, you got.
I appreciate it. Go for it.
Yeah. Conflict at home. Jermaine and his wife are specialists on helping people teaching people how to resolve conflict.
Yeah. So we've got
Jermaine. Sorry, before you say any more, you also are a blended family of how many children?
All right. Okay. So I'm a blended family of 5. So I came to the party with 1. My wife came to the party with 2, and then we both share 1. Our baby girl, Jasmine Ray.
Beautiful.
And we came with all the stuff that comes with blended families. I came with a baby mother, a frustrated baby mother. She came with a frustrated baby father that didn't want me around his kids. My son's mom definitely didn't want no one taking the place. So even though, all the madness, everything that you would expect to come with a blended family, it happened, but it never rocked us.
This is a topic,
because we just understood from the foundation. We understood that our default thing was going to be other-centered. When it all gets back down to it, we're gonna default back to, all right, let me hear what you're saying. And respect your feeling, respect your vulnerability, and she's going to respect my vulnerability, and then we'll start building again from there.
How's your marriage?
I tell you no word of a lie, my brother. I grew up in a household where it was an argument every week. And that's what I just thought. And all my previous relationships, that's how it was, like fiery argument. But I've always thought you don't need to argue if you talk. I used to think this when I was a teenager. Why don't my mum and dad just talk? They don't need to be shouting. So I just thought I want to be in a marriage where I don't have to argue. But then you grow up and you hear, well, you have to argue if you get into it. It's just natural. I think we've celebrated our 6-year anniversary. We've had, in my opinion, one major argument in 6 years. One. I mean, we've had disagreements, and we've had moments where, so you're going to bed and you're not saying good night. And she'll come and be like, here, good night. But I'm still getting the kiss though. And then by the time we get to the bedroom, where we've decided that we're gonna go to default and just talk. So, but there was one time where we've had like a back in the day fiery rah, and that's it. You get what I'm saying? And for me, that is testimony of what God is saying. When we do things God's way, you have the marriage that you want. And our marriage is we're on purpose. That's what I say.
Jermaine's a poet. He got away with words, man. I mean, say it away. You say it in a way I can't. You know, I'm just keeping quiet.
We're on purpose. What we do, everything that we do, I live for her, she lives for me. And we live for other people as much as possible and for our family. So, like, you can't pass air between my kids. Like, Donovan and Gabby, they're sired by their dad. But you see, when they're in this household, they're the one family. And I can't get enough love from them. Like, and you would just not know. No one would ever know that we are not family by any stretch of the imagination. You get what I'm saying? It's just where the family that I've always wanted, I've got, but it's come by a blended family. Not like the nuclear family, what they show us on TV, where you need to, Mama, I've got that, but it just come through another way. And this is God saying, I can do it any way how I want to do it. I know what the desire of your heart is, and allow me to just do it in the way I want you to do it. In fact, this is probably the only way I could do it.
Final Call Productions.
Final call. So like we were saying, we do a service. We do a service where we use drama to help with conflict resolution. It's called Resolve. And basically that is to help people. It's a communication service. So a lot of the time, that's what the issues are. People are just not communicating, or they are communicating, but they're communicating about two different things. They want to talk about something what's going on in here, but they're arguing about the toast that was left on the toaster. And the husband wants to argue about something what happened yesterday, but he's arguing about what got left in the fridge. And then they're going so ham about those two different things and not really getting to what it is that they actually want to talk about. So that's what we do as a service. We identify what really is it that you want to talk about. What is it that is at the underneath thing in your relationship? And it's not just for marriage. It's about what's going on at school. It's about sibling rivalry, whatever it is. Most of the time it's married couples that want some conflict resolution because they're not communicating. However, at the end of that, we always get back to the point of now that you know what you want to communicate about, you have to purpose that you are going to communicate now that you know what it is, and not just say I don't want to communicate. So that's what we do. That's what we do in terms of service. And then we run a film, poetry and theatre company where we put on plays, we tour plays. We just put on a play last year called And There Was War at the Broadway Theatre. We make short films. Yeah, and then I do poetry. I'm a spoken word artist and all that. So all of that you can find at finalcallproductions.com, our website, or if you go on YouTube, Final Call Productions, Twitter at A Final Call. Yeah, my wife's normally the one. She allows me to be the creative one, and she's the one who does all this technical. This is where you find us. That's how we complement each other. She's very much an organizer in her brain, in her thinking, which allows me to just be the creative procrastinator sometimes. But you know, between both of us, we get things done.
Amen. Blessings. Curdy Kurt.
This is marriage.
Yeah. I mean, guys, just visit our YouTube channel, which isn't so active now, but it will be very soon. And our Instagram page, which is very active. This is Marriage UK. We're helping you through these discussions navigate relationships, navigating life, whether you're married, single, divorced, blended. That's a new one now.
Mm-hmm.
To help people understand how to revolutionize, level out, comprehend, understand how to do relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God we've been married 19 years and I'm learning from everyone else. I'm learning from the only other person I'm learning from in my marriage is someone, Eddie, who's coming on the show at some point.
Aye.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone else I'm learning from is younger, who's been married for less time. So even the singleton. So we are here learning and growing as well. Right. And I just want to say on the topic as well, bro, I know we're stretching it right to the last. I just want to say, my wife is growing me. She's growing me.
I almost thought you said you're the legend. I was going to say, bro, please don't do what Jake's did. Please don't do what he did, please.
What did Jake's do?
No, Jake. Sorry, what's his name? John Gray. I thought he was going to say the lid thing, and I was going to bro, please don't say it.
Oh man.
So my wife is the lid. I was like, please don't go there, sir.
I'm not playing that game, bro. I'm not playing that game. I don't happen. No, my wife is growing me.
Amen.
And whenever we catch our eye on other-centeredness, move away from yourself from it. Even when you're hurt, that's my wife is growing. That's my best teammate right there.
Yeah, and that's how it's supposed to be, man. That's your rib,
sorry.
man.
Sorry, man. I was just gonna say, yeah, Jermaine, man. I appreciate your time, and Coach, I just thank you for your platform, man.
Yeah, man. That's all. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed today, man. It's been a blessing. And I'm still finding out. Like, I'm here having a chat with Little Black Book 91. Like, I watch your videos and I'm just like, this guy. And now I'm here chatting with you. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate being on here with you, man.
By the grace. Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure. As always, I think the audience have well and truly enjoyed the conversation at its fullest. We'll look to, I think the blended family one's a big one. I think we need to really have a good conversation on that one. So we need to, I'll negotiate with Curtis and get Curtis to do what he does best, which is navigate them things there. I just like to host. Curtis knows what he's doing when he's doing them things. So I'm going to let Curtis do what he does best. Guys, thank you so much for being honorable guests on our show. Audience, we thank you so much for being participants. You guys have been commenting, showing us questions, adding your 2 pence as well. We will be back next week, Tuesday, I believe. Again, we'll let you know in due time what the next topic will be. Wednesday, we are starting on our new TV show. We're starting to put a ring on it. So, because obviously Married at First Sight is done. So put a ring on it. Guys, let me tell you something. Listen, you lot need to tune in for that one, because I think that one is a big time one where we can really actually start to show you some really deep things about marriage and people going into marriage. So for those who are singletons trying to get married, that's probably even that's gonna be your forte, to watch. So guys, again, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Please stay locked, stay loaded. Like, share, subscribe, guys, as well. And we will see you again next week.
Ellie, peace.
Peace.